So these are cool. I really like them. It's fascinating to me that the plunger technology that Onoto used was a invention of the early 1900s. It was in 1905, I believe, that the first pens that used this technology hit the market. It was in like 1898 or 1899 that the original inventor sold the patent for this technology to Onoto de la Rue and Company. Or, sorry, Thomas de la Rue and Company and their pen manufacturing branch, Onoto. So skip forward to today in 2017 time, and you've got this. A guy named Roger Wolfe is an engineer that works for them, I believe, but he came up with um, a more modern plunger system that will. I think it'll kind of change the way that Onoto pens are manufactured now. It'll bring like a little bit more value to them, and it'll also make more modern pen aficionados really happy. I'm gonna go and show it off. So yeah, I got this nice cardboard package, and they wrote "thank you" on a card. It sent me some. These are copies of old Onoto adverts from like the early 19, like this one's from 1911, this advert, and then the graphic for this advert was from 1920. Looks like a burl kind of wood box that's really great. It doesn't appear. It looks like the burl's a veneer on the box. That's not bad. I mean, the box is really high quality. It's got some heft to it, like a couple compartments, and of course like a nice felt couch for the pen inside. Wonder what else. Oh yeah, looks like there's lots of certificates for the pen inside. Just kind of showing that it's a prototype. And Sinjin, if you're out there, and some of you guys might know Sinjin, I traded my spot to him for this. Apparently, the number 4, which I got, has significance to him, and I wanted number 7 because of, well, it's lucky number 7. Why not?
Like
Come on.
Bungie.
Yeah,
Bungie.
I'm not a huge fan of the number 4. I know that's like a hipster punks would love that. The guy who did Killed by Caps.
Number 4?
Yeah, his whole thing is the Roman numeral 4 IV. He loves putting IV on things. Yeah. And so this is the, I'm gonna try and get it up here. And I'm gonna do some black magic with the camera to fix the focus. All right. Let's see how close we can get, and how in focus we can get. That's pretty good. Okay. So it appears that this there's some throwback symbols on this pen. Uh, and this is actually really interesting. Some people might like this. The initials up here are TDLR for Thomas de la Rue. That was the original company that owned Onoto. And if you just kind of mix those around, you get TLDR. I like that. And then right on the band here, it has Roger Wolfe's signature engraved into the pen. That's the engineer that came up with the new, the more modern plunger system for this pen. And it has the jeweler's markings and logos on here to show that it's an Onoto product, and there's, I'm not sure what all of the symbols mean. They have that on their website, and I really should know. And then there's a P7, which stands for prototype number 7 there.
That is a fat pen.
Yeah, it's really this would be considered the Magna size. A regular Onoto, vintage Onoto, would be about I'd say 3/4 the diameter. They were really thin pens, meant for use. This was more like your boss had this pen back in that day.
Big ball.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a vintage one real quick. I'll be right back with that. Let's see. Yep, I actually have a vintage one right here with the TDLR.
Today I haven't heard. Too long didn't read. The too long didn't read pen.
Thomas de la Rue. It's on there. The engraving's there, but I mean, this is a really old pen. And honestly, I gotta say, back in that time period, the engravings weren't all that deep and sharp. I can see it. It may not be visible to people watching the video here up close to the finial. That's another thing. The Onoto logo at the top of the pen. It has the. Hold on, let's get this facing the right way. You read it from the outside in, the large O that makes up the outside, the N-O-T-O. Right up there at the that's called the finial. There's nothing on the old pen, but here's the difference in size. They're regular pen, and this is considered to be a long model, meant to hold more ink. It's not quite as long as the Magna size, this modern Magna, and it's definitely nowhere near as chubby. So I'll keep that here for comparative purposes. And on most Onoto pens, this was actually like a really important part of owning one, was the stamp. It would say Onoto, the pen, made in England. The brand was really world class for its time, and that technology that I was talking about, the vacuum fill technology, it was just the best at that period in time. So what I'm going to do is unscrew the barrel here from the section, which is where you would normally hold. The section contains the nib and feed, and then this plunger system unit on the inside. So instead of the pen having something that you would unscrew and pull back and push in. This section has a a vacuum mechanism attached to it, and it holds a considerable amount of ink. If you look at this versus the vintage Onoto, let's get their sections lined up. This very long section is actually not responsible for, it's not part of the area that would really contain ink, and it's hard to explain this, but you can only fill a vacuum pen as much as there is space behind the plunger when you're pushing it down. Because when you pull it back, you're getting rid of all the air behind it. And then when you push it forward, you're creating that vacuum system behind the plunger. And all that space that has that pressure from the vacuum, that is what will fill up with liquid. Nothing else. No other part of the pen will draw volume of liquid. So really, if we're looking at the old pen, about this much of the pen could contain liquid.
Hey,
And
that's not a pen, that's a slide whistle.
and I can actually show you that by showing the length of the plunger here on the old pen. There isn't that much length here. So this modern, I love that sound that it makes when it releases the vacuum. But this modern plunger has much more space in it to hold ink. And that's great. That's great. Again, that's out, and this is out. And you can kind of assume that the old pen barrels, because this is all hard rubber in the vintage pen, it had to be thicker, in order for it to withstand the pressures at work here. This material had to be thicker so it didn't warp or break. Whereas, this new material looks to be actually pretty thin but strong, like they're using polycarb. And the plungers, they're actually about the same size as far as how long the plunger goes, because everything inside this screw cap here doesn't really count towards the distance the plunger returns in the vintage pen. It's nice. Just so you know, like the vintage pens held a lot of ink. My large plunger filler here holds a ton of ink. It takes me like easily a few weeks to go through the entire ink supply. If I'm writing, sparsely. If I'm writing every day a whole bunch, I can probably get through it in about 3 or 4 days.
I mean, that's still pretty good, 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, with a liquid ink, when you're using your Bic or anything like that, the ink in it is actually sort of like a dry ink, and it's kind of also an oil.
It's like a concentrate, like when you make like a lemonade out of concentrate.
Exactly, because essentially that concentrate is being pushed through, a sub-millimeter slot onto the paper, and that slot is the size that the little roller ball in the end of a ballpoint. It's slightly smaller, or I'm sorry, slightly larger than like some measurement of the end of the uh, the tube that contains the ballpoint, and that rolling of the ballpoint churns that concentrate down onto the paper. But it's so thin, you're barely using any of it. When you look at a Bic pen's literature, it says that it can, write for several miles, and it's absolutely accurate. Bics and ballpoints are cool in a way. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fill this up and then write with it and show you how it fills up. And I have some bottles of diamine ink here. I really like diamine ink. So quick question. There's a lot of greens, but jade green, Kelly green, green umber, or bilberry. Which one?
Dude, you sound like a YouTube tutorial right now.
Well, I'm trying to be informative. Which one, guys?
Jade.
Jade? Okay. Your wish is my command. So, hopefully I don't, spill this all over my keyboard and desk. That would be terrifying. But what I'm going to do is hope that this is not insanely powerful. Let's see if I can get this closer. Gonna be no. Let's put it on top of the Rama pad. Hey guys. I have no good place to position this. This is horrible. Okay, Rama pad, do your thing. Be a heavy paperweight. There we go. Okay, cool. So you should all be able to see the pen and ink vial here once this catches up. All right. Let me take a look at this. All right, this needs to be dipped pretty far in, so I'm gonna grab a towel to wipe off the section so I don't get ink all over my fingers. Be right back. This is basically my ink cloth. I need to dip this pretty far in and just okay. That was pretty good. It didn't give me a great fill on that stroke. I'll just take this out of here and show you how much it filled up. That's pretty cool. It shows you how much it filled up based on like a little, looks like there's almost like a little floaty in there. Okay, I'm gonna try this again. There we go. So it filled up almost all the way that time. That's a really good fill. I'm going to kick off the excess here into the bottle. This is nice. Normally, when you fill a vacuum fill pen and then you screw the backside in again, you'll get a lot of dripping out of the tip of the nib. You have to spend more time, you know, wiping off the tip. That should make a couple people chuckle. Really? Not even you, white bread? Sorry, I'm doing a lot of stuff off camera. So now to use the pen, I just screw the barrel back on. And then we get to do some writing. Let's position this more towards the paper. And oh, this is smooth as heck. That's nice. This I ordered this with a medium nib. Let's move the camera around a little bit. To you, sweet Onoto, I give my heart sign. Yeah. I'm definitely going to be writing some letters with this pen because it's nice. It's really, really nice. One thing I really, really like about Onoto pens is how they do their nib grinds. And this pen is no exception. I went for the, like I said, the medium nib grind. But there's just something about the line quality where the vertical strokes are nice and chunky and the horizontal strokes are just the slightest bit more thin on the page. And it gives this really, I don't know, just personal touch to writing, whether you're doing, you know, print or cursive. It just really exemplifies that handwritten look. And this is awesome. This wrote immediately after inking it. This was the first time that I've ever inked this pen or used this kind of, well, I mean, I've used a plunger mechanism before, but this is brand new. I never thought that I would see an internal plunger mechanism, and I know for these prototypes, the section and this plunger mechanism here are permanently connected. Now I can clean this out just by flushing it with water, but I can also remove the nib section here on the end, which is a little different from the classic kinds of pens. I can take this nib, grab the feed, and rotate this counterclockwise, and it will just unscrew. an old pen you couldn't do that. I don't believe I can do that with this Onoto, this modern Onoto. And once these go into production, I'm pretty certain that the section and the plunger unit will be individual parts. You can, unscrew it and use a ink cartridge instead of this. And ink cartridges are really great if you're traveling, or some people just don't like to refill their own ink. Some people just like to buy, a pack of 20 cartridges, and whenever the cartridge runs out, they just plug another cartridge in and keep going. But wow, this is super smooth. It's very smooth. It keeps up with pretty fast writing. I can't write quickly. I can't spell quickly anyway. My letters and forms get to be all kinds of nasty, but the amount of ink it lays down is great. That's nice and wet. So, I'm more than happy with this. If there's anyone out there that I end up showing this to or finds this in YouTube land and wants one, you can contact Onoto directly and inquire more about their new plunger series of pens. But this is a awfully large amount of ink for mostly any kind of pen, and I think you could probably get maybe a good 10 to 20 pages. I'm just estimating because I haven't written with this yet for any length, but you could get quite a few pages with this filling system. These pre-production prototypes are, I'm pretty sure, all gone by now, but they're going to start making these in production very, very soon. And I also believe that this filling option is available for their commission pens. So they also give you the option, if you order through Onoto, to get your name engraved on something, or get a special color that they offer. And sometimes they have like chased patterns engraved on the pen, which is like a crosshatch design all over. It gives a really nice texture. But yeah, it's just onoto.com, and well, thanks everybody for watching.